India's GST journey was long and challenging. It took nearly 2 decades to implement GST. We have to see that why it took so long to implement GST in our country. So let us see the developments from 2005 to 2016 for implementing GST. 2005, the high-powered committee of Union Finance Ministers, they most of the states introduced VAT, value added tax. So this was the initial stage or gave the starting point for implementing GST. The states introduced the VAT system, and with this there was an idea that GST is going to be implemented in our country. Now coming to 2007, this high powered committee of the Constitutional Committee of the Union Ministers, they recommended the dual GST system for our country, because the center has the power to implement GST and the state also has the power to implement GST. Central GST is CGST and state GST is SGST. So this is the dual power for center and the state to implement GST. Now 2007 and 8 Union Budget announced that the GST in our country will be introduced from 1st April 2010. But there was lot of consensus required for so many things. How they will protect the revenue loss for the states? What is the revenue sharing ratio between center and states? What is the financial autonomy for center and state? How they are going to implement that? They were not able to reach a consensus, so the 2010 deadline again got delayed. Now 2011, the NDA government, the UPA government has introduced 115th Constitutional Amendment Bill. They want to introduce GST in our country, and they ask for consensus. But the points we raised as the objection: financial autonomy for states, revenue loss, how they will share the revenue between state and center, they were not able to reach a consensus, and the bill lapsed in 2014. Now 2014 is an important year. Then the NDA government took charge. Then the finance minister at that time, center finance minister at that time, late minister Arun Jaitley, has started discussions with the union ministers and how to implement GST. He took it as an initiative to implement in our country. So 2014, they introduced the 122nd Constitutional Amendment Bill, because constitutional powers were required to introduce GST in our country, because both the center and states were getting the power to implement GST, dual GST structure. So that needs constitutional changes. So this deliberate discussions, detailed discussions, it took long time to get the approval from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and finally got the approval from the president also. That is, in 2016, it has become 101st Amendment Act. In 2016, 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, that gave the power for introducing GST in our country. So GST, 101st Amendment Act, they gave the power for dual structure for the GST. Then the GST Council, which can recommend tax rates, exemption, threshold limits, all that related to GST, the GST Council will be recommending to the center. Then how they will protect the revenue loss for the state, how the center and state revenue sharing will happen. All these things have implemented, all these things got the approval, and they got the green signal for implementing GST in our country through the 101st Constitutional Amendment Bill in 2016.